Hello, good evening and welcome to Prime Business with me, Pius Kojobaka. Ghana's economic growth for this year will suffer while inflation could be going up marginally. That's according to the new IMF Economic Outlook report. George Yaffe has more from Washington, D.C.
IMF Economic Director speaking at a news conference here at the IMF headquarters noted that this is due to Ghana's marginal exposure to the U.S. market and how that could impact on demand for its product and also export to that country.
This is an environment of enormous uncertainty, increased volatility, and that I think is something that will dominate for many of the emerging markets. So when we're looking at our assessment, we are actually downgrading the emerging market economies for 2025 and 2026. Most of them, some of them may, as I mentioned, benefit, but overall as a group they're downgraded. While because they're also very plugged into the global supply chains, the uncertainty is leading to a pause in investment and activity, and they're going to suffer from the decline in demand for the products coming from the tariffs.
The director has also been talking about how this could affect inflation in countries like Ghana.
Our assessment is that it's going to be negative. We have a box in our report that looks at the long-term impact of the tariffs if they're maintained, and it is negative for all regions, just like the short-term impact. So we're seeing a negative impact in the short term, in the medium term, in the long term. Again, there are nuances. Some countries might benefit depending on the particular configuration of tariffs, might benefit from some trade diversion, but the broad picture is it's negative for the outlook. Now, and I will end with that, our forecast for 2025 is slightly higher than OER's forecast. Some of this has to do with some of the underlying monetary policy assumptions. For the UK, the bank, our assumptions for this year is that there are going to be 4 cuts through the year. 1 cut already happened. We expect 3 more.
He have noted that this could be mixed because of how oil prices are dropping on the international market and how countries like Ghana could also benefit from this development.
There are nuances. Some countries might benefit depending on the particular configuration of tariffs, might benefit from some trade diversion, but the broad picture is it's negative for the outlook. Global trade is going to be significantly affected. The particular configuration of trade, which bilateral trade flows are going to be affected versus others, that will depend on the final landscape in terms of tariffs. So we can anticipate that there will be much lower bilateral trade under either the reference scenario or the April 9 between the US and China. And that is weighing down on global trade growth. This is weighing down on global trade generally.
He have noted that the development presents some challenges for developing countries like Ghana to come up with some strong fiscal reforms to help mitigate the impact of these developments on the global economy on Ghana.
Now, the interesting development is what does it mean for emerging markets? And you're right to point out that in the past, when dollar would strengthen, that would not necessarily be good news for emerging markets because they have dollar-denominated debts, so that increases their liabilities and the pressure on them to service those debts, and that can lead to some tightening of financial conditions. So we are not seeing that right now, and so that's a plus. The flip side of this is, of course, the appreciation of some of these emerging markets' currencies means that they are also losing a little bit on the competitiveness side. So there's maybe something that is a bit easier on the financial conditions, something that is not as easy on the trade side.
From the headquarters of the IMF building in Washington, D.C., this is George Yaffe reporting for Joy Business.
Now, reacting to the report, economist Professor Lord Benson advised government to start diversifying its exports to explore other opportunities from Europe to withstand the shocks from the U.S. tariff increment.
Clearly, if the big shots, within the global space get affected, it tends to spill over to smaller countries like, Ghana. So having, Donald Trump being some way, somehow inconsistent when it comes to, this tariff policy. Of course, it is expected that it will affect, bilateral trades with the U.S. But then also, the impact would depend on, the net trade flow. I mean, if I say the net trade flow, I'm looking at, the difference between, the export that various countries do to the US, and then also the import that they do from the US. I mean, if you take Ghana, for instance, as an example, in 2023, we did very well by exporting more to the US than importing from the US. So with that, case, if you look at the impact of the 10% tariffs, it may not have that much of impact compared to, other countries that have focused on the US as their main, trade destination. Ghana has done well when it comes to the diversification of its, trade, export. For instance, if you rank, in terms of the data of volumes of export, clearly you'll come to appreciate that the US is around on the 7th, position when it comes to our export volumes to the US. So dealing with the Switzerland, dealing with China and all those, I think Ghana stand, a position of some way, somehow, not affected that much, from these tariffs. But then Ghana may not be affected. But then you remember Ghana is trading with China. If China has a problem with the US and it turns up that, the economic activity within China goes down, obviously it's going to affect consumption levels of, the Chinese, and it may affect,
Now, the ranking member on Parliament's Economic and Development Committee, Kojo Nkrumah, has indicated that government's decision to suspend the extension talks with the IMF showed that the program was indeed on track. Finance Minister Dr. Kasiela Tuforsen recently announced that government has no plans of entering discussions with the fund to extend the IMF program when it ends in May 2026. But speaking to Joy Business's George Yafe in Washington, D.C., Mr. Nkrumah noted that the development showed that the fund's program was indeed on track.
Expecting the Minister of Finance to ask for a program extension. It was the NDC themselves, when they came to power, who started announcing that they will be looking at ways of reviewing or extending the program. And then you'll recall that the fund flatly said, no, they are not looking towards an extension. And now you have the government side saying that they are also not looking for an extension. So we were not even expecting in the first place. It's their own, may I say, rhetoric that has brought them around this circle. Number two, the issues that we raised on the back of the last review were the fact that if you look at the various parameters, the Ghanaian economy is recovering. It was, again, the administration that attempted to undermine that through this 49 billion commitments that they tried to introduce. And you'll notice that the fund, in their statement, even do not agree with the outturns that they claim if they want to admit these commitments. We have said that if the fund goes ahead to do that, it will be out of touch with their own definitions, the definitions under the Technical Memorandum of Understanding in the ECF, and we don't expect them to do that. But be that as it may, the fund is of the view that the economy is progressing, and that's why we have passed this particular assessment, and that's why we're going to be able to access the next 370.
Away from the International Monetary Fund, the African Trade and Economic Outlook Report 2025 has revealed that Ghana's fiscal and external balances will remain under strain in 2025, reflecting a broader trend across Africa. The report attributes the persistence of external imbalances to chronic fiscal deficits, low domestic savings, and underdeveloped financial markets. Winston Taki has more.
Ghana's macroeconomic environment in 2025 continues to be shaped by long-standing structural constraints reflected in widening fiscal deficit and a narrowing current account surplus. Despite notable recovery effort and ongoing reform under the IMF-supported program, the country's external balance remains under pressure, mirroring a broader continental trend outlined in the African Trade and Economic Outlook Report 2025. According to Ghana's 2025 national budget, the government's projects total revenue and grants at 223.8 billion Ghana cedis against an expenditure target of 269.1 billion, resulting in a fiscal deficit of 45.3 billion Ghana cedis, representing 3.1% of GDP. This persistent fiscal gap underscores a structural challenge the country has faced for decades, a mismatch between revenue mobilization and expenditure demands. Finance Minister Dr. Keselato Forsen has described the situation as a call for shock therapy, advocating significant expenditure cuts and the scrapping of some taxes to bring relief to the economy.
In more business news, in a remarkable feat of maritime expertise, Ghana's marine pilots have successfully berthed one of the world's largest container vessels at the Tema Port, marking a historic milestone in the country's ports operations. Here is more from Na Ameli Dosu.
It was a defining moment for Ghana's maritime industry as the MSC Delta, one of the largest container vessels on the planet, arrived at the Tema Port on Sunday morning. Measuring 400 meters in length, with a gross tonnage of 228,786 and a beam of 61 meters, the MSC Delta arrived from Vientiane, India, and now holds the record as the largest vessel to dock at Ghana's shores. The successful berthing was executed by Ghana's Marine Department under the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, led by Harbour Master Captain Bramiel Tebia. Marine pilots Captains Frederick Ishen, Bernard Kuonu, Nathan Kwe, Airam Amegashi, Frank Annan, and Daniel Nyama Ato guided the vessel into position, demonstrating exceptional skill and coordination. Every movement of the operation was meticulously calculated, with the mooring team advising on alignment and securing the ship with pinpoint accuracy. The vessel's master, Captain Mercurio, expressed deep appreciation for the safe and professional handling of the docking process. The successful berthing of the MSC Delta not only reinforces Tema Port's operational readiness for ultra-large vessels, but also strengthens Ghana's position as a competitive trade hub in West Africa. For Joy Business, I'm Melechosu.
Now, Ghana is aiming to be the preferred destination for petroleum refineries in Africa with a plan to refine about 900,000 barrels of oil per day. This was revealed by the Chief Executive of Petroleum Hub Development Corporation, Dr. Tony Obeng. The ambitious initiative will see the creation of a petroleum hub with 3 world-class refineries, each with a capacity to process about 3,000 barrels of oil per day. Speaking on the Super Morning Show, Dr. Obeng explained that the successful establishment of the hub will leverage the African Continental Free Trade Area to serve several African countries drilling hydrocarbons.
We are looking at various, I think the 3 refineries, they're going to produce about 300,000 barrels
per day.
So
each refinery
day. Yes.
Is going to produce
so we are looking at
900,000
a day.
Our current crude oil production is less than 200,000 barrels per day. And we know that the businesses drilling oil within our waters also have contractual agreements. So what strategy are we going to use to ensure that we get the crude to supply these places to enable us to produce?
Okay, let me just clarify that government is not putting up the refineries.
Yes.
So we have done some feasibility studies to know that it is feasible to do that here. But it will be for the private entities who want to do that and who would be satisfied that building a refinery will be their money's worth. Now, the advantage Ghana has is its closeness to everywhere. Africa is discovering a lot of fossil fuels. We are discovering a lot of hydrocarbons. Not too long ago, Namibia discovered some significant quantity of oil. Now, the idea is not to only obligate our internal production, but also to make it possible for people to bring crude from anywhere to refine. It's like the earlier example I gave. I spoke about the fact that Switzerland doesn't produce gold, yet Switzerland refines a lot of gold. So you create that situation for people to come and do that.
Now, the Chief Executive Officer of the Tree Crops Development Authority, Dr. Andy Osei-Okra, has reaffirmed government's dedication to position Ghana's cashew sector as a key driver of economic growth. During a working visit to the Bono East region, Dr. Okra met with cashew farmers and processors in Nkuranza and Tichiman, where he emphasized the importance of quality seedlings, value addition, and adherence to the authority's regulatory policies. More in this report.
Second time, the Chief Executive Officer of the Tree Crops Development Authority, Dr. Andiose Okra was visiting the Bono East region since assuming office. His first stop was the Nkranza South Municipal Assembly, where he met with local farmers who raised concerns about poor irrigation systems and the need for improved cashew seedlings. Dr. Okra assured the farmers of government support and revealed plans to establish a cashew processing factory in the region to enhance production and export.
I think it's been quite good. The objective is to meet the producers. Now they're saying they are producers. The very people who produce the cashew so that the production, the value chain production starts. So the essence of this trip was to meet the very people. But the other time we met the Traders and Exporters Association as stakeholders. At this time we wanted to concentrate and focus on the producers, the farmers themselves, to first of all introduce myself to them, share the vision we have, His Excellency the President John Dramani Mahama's vision on cashew with them, and then listen to what they have also to contribute.
In Dichiman, cashew producers interacted with the CEO on issues relating to pricing, value addition, expansion of farms, and compliance with the authority's regulations. The Chief Executive Officer of the Tree Crop Development Authority, Dr. Andiose Okra, highlighted government commitment into the cashew industry to create more job opportunities. He also visited some farms, including a 200-hectare cashew plantation owned by the 2015 National Best Cashew Farmer Nana Daniel Kwan, to better understand field operations and post-harvest challenges.
Anyway, we really appreciate the attendance of the CEO for this meeting. Yes, the cashew has actually helped us a lot because all our lands were just lying just like that. But to plant cashew doesn't care for any rich land or any say water. But whether the land is dry or not, if you plant cashew, it grows. So that has helped us to cultivate almost all the lands that were lying just idle.
He later toured the Ghana Nuts Company in Teshiman, one of Ghana's major agro-processors known for producing edible oil from shea and soya as well as animal feed. The visit forms part of TCDA's broader mission to strengthen stakeholder collaboration and boost value addition across the cashew value chain.
The Upper East Region Airport project has received a significant boost with the recent visit of the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Airports Company Limited, who inspected the proposed site at Sumburugu. The visit follows an earlier promise by President John Mahama to the people of the region during his thank you tour, assuring them that they will finally get an airport under his government. Albert Sori reports.
The Upper East Region is situated over 800 kilometers from Accra. Therefore, journeys by bus typically take a minimum of 12 hours to reach the capital and 8 hours to get to Kumasi. Currently, the nearest airport is in Tamale, which is about 3 hours by road, highlighting the urgent need for an airport in the region to make it easier for people to travel by air, especially in emergencies. The demand by the people of the Upper East Region for an airport has intensified, particularly in light of recent safety concerns along the Bolgatanga-Waliwali-Tamale Highway, where attacks and killings have surged. In response to these security issues and the long-standing need for direct access to air travel, a social group known as Alangube initiated preparatory works on the abandoned site at Sombrongo and rallied support from residents and stakeholders to draw attention to the project.
What we have done on our own selves, together with our social group Alangube, is to create this runway of 120 meters by 3,500, which is more than an international airport runway. But the land is far. We can even make 4 or 5 runways in this airport area. So it is not small. The airport is not a proposed anymore from today. we have all agreed from Sumburungu and a team here, and we are here to hand over the land.
During his thank you tour in March, President John Mahama pledged to address the long-standing Upper East Region Airport project.
I've also asked the Managing Director of the Ghana Airports Company to commence the sourcing of funding for the construction of the Upper East Regional Airport. We intend to do this under a PPP model in conjunction with the gold mining companies in this region, since this will allow them also to airlift their gold bullion safely to Accra directly from the Upper East region.
The president has now taken a step further by delegating the CEO of the Ghana Airports Company Limited, Yvonne Opari, to visit the site for the airport project in Sumburungu. After her inspection, the CEO of the Ghana Airports Company reaffirmed the government's commitment to making the airport a reality.
And I'm here with my technical team to assess the land that you are giving us to establish the direction of His Excellency, the President John Dramani Mahama, to establish an airport at the Upper East region. I want to take the opportunity to thank the Alan Gube group who have spent their own resources to grade the land and create the path for a runway up to about 2,000 meters. This shows a lot of seriousness for this project, and the President also attaches a lot of seriousness to it, and we know that as the months go along, you will see some visible signs of us having started this project.
Upper East Regional Minister Donatus Akamukri Atanga also emphasized the airport's potential to transform the local economy.
This area, in fact, it's going to be the airport that will supersede all the airports in this country. Because what we have here, we have 9 out of 15 municipal and district assemblies that have gold deposits. And so which means that the mining companies will need a faster means of conveying their staff as well as conveying their products. Apart from that, this area, we have 15 municipal or district assemblies, and you have about 8 district assemblies that are border assemblies. And border districts means that international business will boom.
With the visit from the CEO of the Ghana Airports Company and the renewed commitment from the government, the people of the Upper East region are hopeful that the long-awaited airport will soon become a reality. For Joy News, Albert Sori, Bolgatanga.
And this is still Prime Business. Bliss GVS, as part of its corporate social responsibility, has initiated a campaign dubbed Act for Africa aimed at combating malaria and working towards a malaria-free continent. The initiative is focused on creating awareness, supporting affected communities, and providing resources to help it fight against the disease. Helena Akai has more.
As part of its Act for Africa campaign, Bliss GVS made a donation to the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana to bolster efforts aimed at promoting public health. Executive Secretary of the Society, Reverend Dr. Denisina Awiti, urged the public to be vigilant in purchasing only genuine medicines. He stressed the importance of reporting any suspicious or substandard drugs to a pharmacist or directly to the Food and Drugs Authority, emphasizing that the quality of medication is crucial in the fight against malaria.
To help grow the pharmaceutical industry, to help make our pharmaceutical industry robust, we should all be able to look out for medicines that are genuine, medicines that are effective, medicines that treat diseases that we can attest to. So if we don't experience that and we receive medications or medicines from facilities that we have doubt about, we should report to the pharmacist or the Food and Drugs Authority or the Pharmacy Council as quickly as possible. We should take the opportunity to contribute to the pharmacovigilance in our country and to be able to better improve the pharmaceutical supply chain in all we do.
Pharmacist Kingsley Esuma Boateng, representing Bliss GVS, expressed optimism that the Act for Africa initiative will continue to impact underserved communities through education, partnerships, and grassroots engagement.
We believe that this contribution or this donation that we are making to the society, the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, will go a long way to help in their health outreaches that they partake in the rural areas or the underserved communities, in the sense that during the outreach they will be able to reach out to people who are not privileged to get medical attention and places where malaria is more predominant. And with these medications, they will be able to attend to the health needs of these people, in effect ensuring that the prevalence of malaria in such areas will reduce.
Bliss GVS says it remains committed to its long-term vision of reducing malaria prevalence across Africa through sustained health advocacy and collaboration.
That's it for Prime Business. I am Pius Kojo Baka.